Please purchase a personal license to remove this message. The man who talked too much in the dead hour of night, when owls hush their mournful calls. John decided they'd put enough miles between themselves and Palestine that the posse were likely never going to find them. He reined in the horse on a narrow strip of moon-bleached ground between a dry creek bed and open scrub. The earth was pale and hard, picked clean. He dismounted without a word and began making camp with the methodical, grim efficiency of a man who had slept in worse places than hell's shadow. No fire. Just the darkness, the cold, and the vast Texas pines gnawing at a star-filled sky. Jack perched on a rock like a man waiting for an audience to arrive. You know, Jack said brightly, this place has dreadful acoustics. No sense of grandeur at all. John sat, his back against a broad rock, and pulled out his rations, a brick of hardtack and a strip of jerky tougher than old regrets. He ate slowly, his eyes never leaving Jack. Jack watched John eat the food like a starved dog, saliva barely kept in his mouth, dribbling down his chin in shiny trails. John tried to eat in peace, but Jack's face twisted like a starving dog's, drew a sharp exhalation of annoyance from him. He broke off a chunk of hardtack and a ragged corner of jerky, then tossed them over. Jack caught it too fast. He ate like a starving dog, jaws working mechanically, as if the food might be recalled any second. Only when the last crumb was gone did the man return, smoothing his features back into place. He began to speak. Thank you, Jack said mildly. Generosity is such an underrated virtue. John kept chewing. I know you do not believe what I told you, Jack said, his voice mild, conversational. Who I am. Why I am here. It makes me sad. I am, in truth, a very trustworthy man. Ask anyone. Except my creditors, of course. He offered a thin, practiced smile. John didn't answer. He kept chewing, his eyes flat and telling a clearer story than any words. I wouldn't trust you if you told me the sky was up. His right hand rested on his knee, inches from the Colt's worn grip, thumb brushing the hammer like a lover's caress. Jack, buoyed by the food and his own momentum, mistook the silence for an audience. Trust is a rare coin for men like us who must fight shadowy forces of chaos, he declared with a dramatic flourish, whisking away an invisible speck from his sleeve. It must be guarded carefully. Our enemies can wear any face. He leaned forward conspiratorially. That's why I excel at this work. I can recognize a trustworthy man from miles away. John took a slow sip from his canteen, the water cold in his throat. His gaze didn't waver. Jack nodded, as if John had offered a profound agreement. My family is very important back home. We own hundreds of acres of land outside Tianjin. The land has been ours for so many generations that even my grandmama doesn't even remember when we claimed them. The peasants say the land is good for wheat. He waved a dismissive hand. A peasant's concern. I never cared for such lowly things, for I am meant for greater destiny. The first chance I got, I fled to live with my uncle in Peking. He's a Li Bi in the Imperial Hydraulic Bureau, a post of real sway. I'm his favorite nephew, you know. He pulled strings for my posting to America. Said it'd launch my career to the stars. John chewed. Swallowed. Bottom liquor, he thought. Smelled power and went running. He paused, a faint, nostalgic smile on his lips. Do you know what miss most about Peking? It was the refinement of the brothels. Such artistry. Such devotion to craft. The ones here are so provincial. The girls have no refinement. They might as well be hogs. He chuckled at his own joke. John's eyes, which had been glazed with disinterest, sharpened. A cold flicker passed through them. He'd known girls in those places. Good women in bad situations. He said nothing, but the air grew a degree colder. Jack, oblivious, sailed on. My father, the simpleton, adores his dogs. Dozens of them. Loud, stupid, smelly creatures. He tells a story of when bandits came to our home when he was a boy. The dogs died to the last, but no bandit entered our home. Jack sniffed. Personally, I think Grandpapa should have invested more in security. John's lip curled, sharp and involuntary, like a rattler bearing its fang. The fool before him spat on loyal hounds while bowing to Peking's silken pleasures, mistaking softness for wisdom. John had heard many men talk themselves into trouble. He had never heard one so calmly, so methodically, explain why a bullet would improve the room. I live in San Francisco now, he sighed, as if announcing an exile. A small house, only 5 bedrooms. Tragic, I know, but one learns to endure. The servants I so generously brought from Peking fled the instant they touched this ungrateful soil. Just ran. Ingratitude knows no borders. And so I am forced to employ Yankees. Forever moaning about holidays and pay, as though serving me wasn't the highest reward their pitiful little lives could possibly attain. Truly, the burdens of greatness are endless. The crickets sawed their legs in the scrub. The horse snorted softly. The night listened, a vast, dark auditorium, to this one-man play. Jack said, leaning forward, his voice swelling with sudden, wounded pride. Did you know I began learning English only 2 years ago? 2. And already I speak it better than most of its native sons, but of course, that is merely good breeding asserting itself. He smiled, as if burdened by the truth of it. If you were to read of my deeds, you would think me the hero of a grand play. The man at the center of the stage. Chosen by heaven itself to scour chaos from this land. John looked at him. Most men needed a bottle of whiskey to get this far up their own ass. This one was sober. Jack caught the look and mistook it for envy. He grinned and lingered on the memory far longer than necessary. 2 Lamians, he said, voice dropping, savoring every syllable. Tall. Pale as porcelain. Dressed like they'd stepped out of a dream and forgotten to finish dressing. His eyes unfocused, roaming somewhere unseemly. Black hair spilling down bare shoulders, mouths too red to be decent, smiles that promised terrible things and meant every one of them. He chuckled softly. They moved like smoke and silk. Leaned in close, very close. You could feel the cold of them before they ever touched you. Hands everywhere, curious, possessive. They smelled of old perfume and fresh blood. Absolutely intoxicating. He shook his head, almost regretful. Followed me straight to my stateroom. Shut the door behind them. Nearly drank me dry. A sigh. I was saved only by a crewman to whom I owe a gambling debt, a man I had been doing my best to avoid. The timing was most inconsiderate. Jack pushed back his silk sleeve with deliberate slowness, revealing 2 pale, perfect punctures on his forearm. They marked me, he said, half proud, half complaining. Left me weak for days. And worse, utterly ruined a brand new tiger skin coat. He sniffed. It was very stylish. John just stared. The tale was so outlandish, so vain, it circled back around to being almost believable. Almost. And in San Francisco, Jack continued, his voice sinking into a reverent hush, wrapped in that peculiar, imperial formality he affected when he wished to impress, the Brotherhood found me within days of my making port. Days. As if the heavens themselves had sent word ahead of my arrival. He paused, letting the silence admire him. They bestowed upon me a title, the Defender of the Western Land. He tasted the words slowly, lovingly. A sacred charge, bestowed not lightly. Since that moment, I have labored tirelessly for the people here. He spoke it the way one recites scripture, half remembered and wholly cherished, not quite believing a word of it, yet utterly enamored with how holy it sounded when spoken aloud. He's selling himself, John mused, his mind cold and clear. But I can't tell if he's trying to sell me this tall tale, or himself. They all know me at the consulate, John, Jack confided, pride puffing his chest. Doors open. People listen. Even the consul general asks my advice on small matters. I worry for him. I am not certain the man can breathe without my instruction. Jack finished the last imaginary crumb, brushed his hands with finality, and leaned in. His voice became a conspiratorial murmur, the jade in his tone taking on a hard, gleaming edge. You know, Jack went on, warming to the sound of his own revelation, the elder of the Brotherhood told me they've seen more supernatural activity in the last 2 years than in the 20 before. As if my arrival. He smiled faintly. Drew them out. Forced chaos up from hiding. His eyes shone now, fever bright, alight with a private certainty. These entities, John, monsters, spirits, oh, they fear my power. They sense it. A man empowered by heaven's mandate. He leaned in, almost tender. It provokes their hatred. Because in my presence, they glimpse their own eternal inferiority. That ain't how it works, John thought, the certainty settling heavy in his gut. He'd seen old tear-crowned men apart like damp paper. He'd watched things older than Christ, ignore prophets screaming themselves hoarse. Monsters didn't care about mandates. They answered only to strength. This man, this preening little peacock, wasn't chosen. He was building a theology out of perfume and privilege, and mistaking survival for sainthood. Jack was still talking, lost in his own glorious myth. And the Brotherhood, he said, waving a hand as if clearing smoke, they recognized my destiny at once. Said it was written upon me. My purpose is to cleanse this land of evils. Such as the puppet master. He paused, then added with casual, devastating carelessness, and the preacher who preys upon the innocent children of the piney woods. The words hung in the cold air. John's Colt was in his hand so fast it seemed to simply appear there, the moonlight running like liquid silver down the barrel. It was now aimed directly at the center of Jack's silk-clad chest. The crickets stopped. All the polished words, the imperial cadence, the self-important air, it evaporated. Jack froze, his eyes wide. For the first time all night, he had nothing to say. The shock was total. John's voice was low, a dry rasp that carried more threat than a scream. It was the sound of a hammer being cocked in the soul. How do you know about the preacher, Jack? He didn't raise the voice. He lowered it, making the night lean in to listen. And you're gonna tell me the whole truth and only the truth. He shifted the barrel a fraction, aiming now for the soft hollow beneath Jack's ribcage. Or I'll put a bullet in your gut and leave you here for the wolves to eat you alive.